Hello, everybody.
Welcome back to the Other Side Lifestyle podcast with Jim and Aram. We just recorded a full 10-minute episode prior to hitting record about all the things we can't talk about on here because we all want to keep our jobs except for Aram, who's allowed to talk about whatever he wants because he's just a full-time online coach. But me and our guest, Megan, who is a repeat guest, have full-time jobs on top of coaching. Megan, tell us about what's in the crock pot right now.
Chili. Made crockpot chili this morning so that my ravenous toddlers don't bother me while I'm recording a podcast.
I like it. And are they up there just sloshing around making their own bowls, or do they have some assistance?
Thankfully, my husband is upstairs, and I think my mom is still here as well.
Wow.
I think my mom is still. Talk about you got disconnected real quick mentally with some sickness in the house.
By the way,
no, childcare. I am very blessed with childcare from both of my mother and my husband's mother. Are
nice.
If you guys want the unedited 10 minutes of content, just join our Patreon. It's $140 a month. It's well worth it.
Yes. I'm going to show you, see if it shows up on the screen here. My mother just had a piece of she had a bunch of freckles, very fair skin, piece of skin cancer removed from her forehead. Viewer discretion is advised.
Yeah.
What?
That's definitely in the middle of the procedure. That gets deep. And
it's deep. And then
it bleeds a lot.
Wait, that's your mom?
Yeah.
Those are very vascular.
Dude, it looks like she got shot in the fucking skull.
They did a great job.
They did. Yeah, she's doing great. I said, it kind of looks like the Dave Matthews Band symbol. I said to her, at least you have
Leatherface.
Yeah, I go, at least you have your Bride of Frankenstein Halloween costume set. That's her. She just sent me that about 15 minutes ago.
That is wild.
Mother.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
That looks beautiful. I see that all the time, so that looks beautiful.
That's all right. A little growth hormone, a little BPC 157. She'll be fine.
That's it. It cures everything.
She's direct into the eyebrows.
Yeah, they didn't have the pain medication at the CVS, so she just has an antibiotic. So
they didn't have the pain medicine. That poor woman.
Yeah, she's just taking ibuprofen and alcohol.
That's
no, she's not drinking
combo.
I thought you were going to say Tylenol, not alcohol. Tylenol would be advised, not the alcohol.
Yeah.
I think the booze actually counteracts the autism problem.
It does.
If you drink alcohol with Tylenol, it kills any chance for autism.
Yeah.
So that's PMID 3758.
Yeah.
I believe the study was.
We're still trying to figure out if it's correlation or causation, but it doesn't matter.
It's both.
We'll just say it.
I just can't believe Tylenol is called controversial at this point. Just follow the directions in the bottle. You're fine.
I mean, I think most medications say probably not a good idea while you're pregnant or nursing.
Everything says that. So.
Right.
Yeah, they have to.
Yeah, I think Cheerios has the same label.
Like expiration dates. My mom always taught me they're not real.
Optional.
Yeah,
unless it's
like expired ketchup, it's fine.
Unless it's dairy based, you can eat it forever. It's probably going to be fixed anyway.
Yeah, like 15-year-old mustard in her fridge. It's just doesn't go bad.
Little extra flavor now.
Yeah.
That's actually going to be really good.
Yeah, now it's spicy brown mustard.
Yeah, it started off as yellow mustard.
How do you make Dijon mustard? You put mustard in your fridge, you never use it for 25 years, and then you use it. That's how you make Dijon mustard.
So Megan said something really interesting before the call started kicking off, and I was curious to start to dive into the subject, and I think it's an important commentary on mental health, especially with the whole trigger culture that we have going on. And I think it's important to understand the difference between normal life shitty events or people making statements that you don't agree with versus somebody actually attacking you and your belief system. So Megan's got 2 kids and, she creates awesome content and a lot of it is helpful to moms. And that's a big population of people that I serve. And she was saying that it's hard to she's lost a lot of followers. And I asked her why, and she said it was because she was talking about postpartum and stuff like that, which I would think would be wildly helpful for people. But she said it was triggering for a lot of people that were having fertility issues or not being able to have kids, which I guess, sure, we can certainly understand that aspect of things. But how are you shifting your content now to be able to serve a more specific audience, or what do you think people are looking for now?
I think my content actually, because I came from like the very, very like strict kind of bodybuilding world to then now catering way more to like the lifestyle, busy moms, like super stressed out. And I think that my content has shifted because my perspective and my lived in experience has also shifted with that as well. And I've done a lot more education and growth as a coach in order to approach people in a different way, where it's not like hit your macros, do better, good job. It's more, how can we make this work for you? What is working for you? You don't, is tracking macros serving you? And I think as far as my content goes and the people that come across my page, my kids are literally in my gym most of the time with me, just causing absolute chaos. It's chaos. But I did lose a lot of followers when I shifted from the strict bodybuilding to what I do now. Some of it I have to say is because I no longer have like that fit, like Instagram fitness influencer body with abs and like super toned and all of that, right? Um, so I'm more average looking, whereas people may not say, hey, I want to look like her anymore. And if I also don't push physique goals anymore, I think that it's fine to have a physique goal and to want to look like something, but what's going to keep you going when things get hard? What's going to really be the motivator when it's not easy, it's not convenient, um, and it's probably something more than I just want to look a certain way.
Has a new audience been able to find you because of that?
I think so, a little bit, but I think, if you really look at Instagram and like social media as a whole, right? Content creation is a full-time job and you have to really put a lot out there and it changes overnight. And while I do have the luxury of childcare some days, I don't have the luxury of uninterrupted days and, hours upon hours of filming, recording, editing, all of that. And so I think over time, my content gets boring, right? And so I don't think my content is a really great portrayal of the type of coaching that I offer and the type of follower that I want to have, because it's very low level, because
Yeah.
that's what I have right now, so I throw it out there.
What was that transition like for you, going from the physique focus to now, not having the body that you had then? Did that feel like a very natural transition? Was there difficulty with it, like an acceptance period? What was that like?
It was hard at first, but I also made the promise to myself after my first child was I was not going to get caught up in like the whole bounce back culture of losing weight postpartum, trying to get my pre-baby body back and all of that. And I have enough knowledge and education to not get caught up in that. And I know that, you as a new mom, you have to literally say goodbye to like the old you and figure out who you are now as a mom, but also for yourself. And so I have the luxury of not having to wear normal clothes on a daily basis other than like scrubs and leggings, right? So I wasn't trying to like fit into old clothes. I still wore those clothes and I shifted my own mindset to I'm going to focus on rebuilding my own strength and figuring out what I'm going to do in the gym with this new body that was not as nearly as strong as it should be. I didn't even feel ready to work out at 6 weeks postpartum. Nothing was working the way it should. I couldn't even do a push up. And that was like the most humbling experience ever. It's just because my core was just not ready yet. So I really, really, really focused on how can I build back my strength and how can I learn how to be consistent while also learning how to care for another human and be completely out of my routine. And then after my second child, because I have right now, I have a 3-year-old and an almost 2-year-old. After my second child, I was like, strength training is great, but I'm definitely missing something. I was getting winded walking up the stairs. I felt really out of shape. And I was a D1 college athlete. So I know what it's like to feel in shape. And through like the bodybuilding years, I just completely lost that. I had focused only on cardio as a way to lose weight and not for actual health and like feeling fit and being fit. So I got back into running. And that was also a very big challenge and eye opener because I hated cardio for the longest time. And leaning into improving running and getting better at running really helped me enjoy that process as well. So I shifted from strict, push pull legs training to failure, like, 2 days off a week to then running and lifting and more of a hybrid approach. I don't want to call myself like a hybrid athlete or anything like that. But I just wanted to be fit so I could keep up with my kids, lift my kids, and, play with them. And that has been the most fulfilling, I think, thing I could have done for myself, both as a mom and as like a person, because I actually feel good. And it's not chasing a physique, it's just improving how I'm feeling and feeling strong and actually being able to push a stroller up a massive hill and not feel like I'm dying.
Yeah. What do you think working with people is the hardest thing for them? What do you think's in the way of them going through the transition that you went through and letting go of maybe their old physique and embracing a new life and just the reality of a new life? Because it seems like that's difficult for a lot of people, and they're constantly comparing just purely physically their old body and what it looks like. What kind of conversations do you have, and what do you think it is that's makes it so hard for people to overcome that?
I think one of the biggest things is really just scrolling on social media and seeing these accounts who are pushing this like, you know, flat tummy and mommy pooch and, get rid of all this. And it's just a ton of misinformation and it's only part of the story and it's not the entire story. And it's not understanding that in the postpartum period up to, I think it's like 2 years, that your body is still recovering from growing an entire human and an entire organ in order to have a child. The reason why, there's postpartum hair loss and all of that is because your own nutrient stores are gone. And I think that if people were able to shift their focus on trying to get back the body that they were pre-baby and really just focus on their health and how can I eat well in order to do what I want to do and fuel myself well for my own health, my mental health, and my physical health, then that may be helpful. And it's hard not to say, you want to lose weight, you want to like get that body back. And it's like, you can do both, right? You can want to change the way you look, but also not make that your primary focus. And that can just be kind of like secondhand. That's what helped me. But I think it's really personal for each person because there's external factors of people tying them like the way that they look to their self-worth and wanting to look better for their partner or, for their friends or whatever it is. But on the other side, too, some people who do lose weight postpartum, it may be because they're having, postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety. They're not able to, sit down, and they don't have the help that they need in order to actually feed themselves. And they're just giving and giving and giving and giving, and they're not taking care of themselves. But on the outside, it looks great because they like lost all their baby weight. But on the inside, they're struggling and they don't really know. So there's so many sides to it. And I don't think you really, really know. Right.
Yeah. So my son just this weekend, because he turned 13, he got his first cell phone. He had some friends over on Saturday night for a little birthday, just hang out. And on Sunday, he was looking kind of emotional. And I'm like, what's going on? You look like, you're going to cry. And he's like, well, I'm good. And like puts his head in and starts crying. And I go, what's going on? He's like, I turned 13 and like nothing changed. And I get this phone and like nothing changed. Like nothing changed. And it's like, there's this expectation that something's going to change. And I said, it's really awesome that you even have that awareness about that. A lot of people don't have that awareness. And if somebody didn't have that awareness, what would they start to do, or what would their problem be? They sat with it for a second. He's like, they'll just always need to get something else. And I go, yeah. And then when that next thing doesn't give them what they wanted, then it's the next thing. It's like, yeah, I go, so now that you realize it, things don't change, but your perspective on things and the decisions you make, that can change your entire life. And that becomes the more empowering way to view life, as far as I'm concerned. And you said that you made the decision. Like, you made the decision. I'm not going to blah, blah, blah. And then you made action steps to pursue that decision. And it is as simple as that, but it is very difficult for people to do that. You know?
And I think, there's so much outside pressure as well, right? And especially as like a first-time mom, right? Second time around, things are just way different, right?
Yeah, you don't care about that kid.
There's
a crock pot upstairs. Go feed yourself, piece of shit.
You want a purple bowl? Too bad you have a yellow one. Like, right? Okay. Just be grateful you have a bowl.
Yeah, now leave me alone. I'll be in the basement. I'm podcasting. Mommy's got a podcast.
That's right. That's right. So, I made that decision, but I did it because I have enough knowledge to know that that's kind of what I need. Not everybody has that. And the same thing when it comes to, I think, just regular weight loss goals and physique goals, right? Are you really ever going to be happy, right? Or are you getting happier in the process of becoming that person?
Exactly.
Same thing when people are like, oh, I just need to be consistent. It's like, well, you don't just like wake up one day and be consistent, right? You become consistent by showing up and being inconsistent with it, and then figuring out how it is. And I think so many people get caught up in that like instant gratification. I need this now and I want this now. And everything is so easy. Well, yes, on paper, it's very easy. And yes, you have to make sacrifices and priorities, but by doing that, you're also deprioritizing other things. And so you do have to choose, right? And I think Aram does this really well. He simplifies it and he's like, no, it's really not that hard. It's really not that hard a lot of times. But for some people, they can get so inside their heads and like, it is hard, right?
A lot of it is like fantastic stuff. It's the paralysis by analysis problem that we see so often. And now that, especially, I'm only going to comment on women's health because that's really where my focus lies. But women are being told so many different conflicting messages from so many different conflicting people. And a lot of these people are authority figures in the space. Even just yesterday or 2 days ago, one of my clients who's a coach herself, she posted a reaction reel to something that Mary Claire Haver said about visceral fat reduction being something that you can, reduce by starving yourself, which we can certainly replace starving yourself with a calorie deficit. But in previous videos, she had said that a calorie deficit doesn't work for visceral fat. So these women that are watching this person who's got 3 to 4 million followers, who is literally within the span of a couple of weeks saying two different things, is now confusing people, but she's also creating a very emotionally driven cult mentality of, I think, disempowered, victimized, and emotionally driven action seekers that are subscribing to her methodology. as opposed to actual evidence-based, science-based, and also practically practice stuff that you've seen as somebody who's been postpartum twice now, people that you've coached through postpartum multiple times, people that I've coached through postpartum. The scientific principles don't change with age. They don't change with circumstance. The circumstances surrounding your ability to comply to something changes. That's the only thing that actually changes is I don't have the available bandwidth for it. I know what I have to do. It's just harder to do it. And there's nothing wrong with that. And what I want you to talk about is, did you adjust your expectations of how you were going to look and how you were going to feel? And if so, how were you able to get to that point? Because I think that's where people are struggling. It's not because they don't know what to do. It's because they expect to operate at this uncanny high level despite having all of these new challenges in place that they just don't give any gravity to.
Yeah, it's meeting yourself where you're at. And I actually talk about this a lot with my clients, is having reasonable expectations, because you no longer have the time, the energy, the availability to go to the gym for as long as you want without interruptions. You no longer have the ability to run on your own schedule. You are now tied to somebody else's schedule, regardless if you're breastfeeding or not, right? Even if you're not breastfeeding, you absolutely are. And it is unrealistic for you to think that you can do what you used to do. And so many people are like, it doesn't work. I'm like, it doesn't work because you're not in the same place. You are not the same person. You are not in the same situation. And so we have to come at it in a way that is way more realistic and meeting yourself where you're at, because your 5-6 days a week at the gym just isn't going to happen. And it may just be 2 or 3. And so your progress is going to be slower. You don't have to change your goal. You just have to change the timeline most of the time, because you probably are overestimating what you can do in a short amount of time, but underestimating what you do in a longer period of time, especially like the further you get, postpartum, the older your kid gets. Like, granted, more challenges come up and there's like different phases and you go from one to the other, but like, as your kid becomes more independent, then you also can have a little bit more independence and the ability to kind of shift with that as well. But I think, the ones that are really, really struggling the most are the ones that are working full time, running a household, being a mom, and wearing all of these hats. And, on one hand, we're like, sleep is great. You need to sleep 7 to 9 hours. And they're like, the only time I have to work out is waking up before my kid, or I can't wake up before my kid. Like that's where I'm at. Like 4 o'clock on, I got 1 or 2 kids up. And so
Man,
waking
why are
up
you not committed to your goals?
because I have the luxury of having a gym in my basement. I drag them into it with chocolate rice cakes when I want. It's, can I keep them in the gym and not going up the stairs by themselves to go get into trouble is the
Yeah,
issue.
they just need a harness and a leash, a harness and a leash, like I had when I was a kid.
That's right.
Chain them up. Do
Well,
you see a lot of people not having support at home as well? Like whether it's a spouse isn't supporting them, do you see that?
Yes. However, I think a lot of women don't necessarily know how to approach that conversation and say what they need.
Yes.
Because without that communication, without that discussion, you can't expect your spouse or your partner or whoever is at home to understand what it is that you need.
Yeah, I've heard it before, and this came up when I was running a group, and I'm telling these women, you have to speak up for what you need. And some of the response from some of them, including my mother, was like, they should know. The husband should know. And I'm like, yeah, sure. They should. They should figure out that their wife is complaining how they don't have time to work out, and then they should help problem solve and not make their wife ask. But if they're not doing that, you have to speak up and have this conversation, and then at least confront that. Or do you just think they're not going to be supportive?
So here's the thing, and I've had this discussion with my husband, is that he thinks he's being helpful when it actually is not helpful. And
Tell us
so
more.
he's trying. He did, it's I didn't want to do the wrong thing, so I did nothing, right?
Yeah.
But if I were to say, hey, can you go make dinner so I can get my workout in, that would be really helpful. Or somebody who, I talk about this with my clients at all, their husbands think that they're being helpful by getting takeout because that way they don't have to cook, do the dishes, do all the things. But they're seeing it as my husband's always trying to order takeout and it's sabotaging my macros.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, did you have this discussion with them? And they're like, no, not really. I'm like, okay. So they're just thinking that they're being helpful when in reality, you're seeing it as unhelpful. So you have to see both sides of it.
Yes, then
So
you
really
just take over everything because you're tired of this stuff happening, right? You feel like a lot of women just take, I'll just do it. I'll
Yes.
just do it all. I'll
They
do it
take
all.
responsibility, but then also at the same time
Yes. To
are
their own dismay.
saying, I have a lot on my plate. So they have to also be able to offload some of that and trust that the other person can do a good enough job of it.
Well, and that's
so
this is where the expectation parts has to change as well, because if you're delegating, but you have a very specific, like it could be something as innocuous as loading the dishwasher. You may differ from your spouse on how you want that to be done. But if you don't want to fucking do it, then you have to be okay with it not being done your way. And that's one of the toughest things to relinquish control of, especially in a household where you're used to being the person who does it all, is it might not get done your way. It'll get folded, it'll get washed, it ain't gonna be perfect, and it ain't gonna be like you did it. But it's like anything else in life. You have to accept that if you're not going to do it, or if it's not going to be done your way, it's not going to be done your way, and that's okay. Like being okay with things being okay, I think is a superpower that a lot of people need to learn, because it would make life a hell of a lot more peaceful for them. But that's really hard to do, and it's a practice like anything else, which is like, cool, delegate to whoever in the household you want to delegate to, and then just shut the fuck up and sit back and watch it happen. Or don't even pay attention to it. It's probably easier not to put any attention into it whatsoever and just let it get done in the background while you completely shift your attention into something that you know is going to fill your cup. Because that was the intention in the first place. If I offload this thing, dishes, cooking, cleaning, whatever, yeah, it's not going to get done the way I would normally do it because I have a lot of attention to detail and he doesn't. But it's at least getting done, and it's giving me 35 minutes to be in the basement getting on the elliptical to make up for the steps I didn't take today. That's a win. That's not a loss. That's a win because all the shit got done and you got to work out. Let's look at the positives, and that's a very hard shift, I think, psychologically to make. What would you or how would you suggest that women start to get to a place where they can have that level of acceptance to say, hey, this isn't going to be perfect, but at least it's getting done?
Oh, you got to choose your battles. that's the biggest thing. And I think I learned that from like a very early age, because that's all my mother said is you got to pick and choose your battles. But you have to slowly start with small tasks, or also say, hey, I know you have your own way of doing it. It would be helpful if you did it this way as well. And so be a little bit more, right? A little bit more direct.
Do some professional development with your spouse. You have a workshop and you go through, this is how I like it to be done, and then
The
go
Saturday
from there.
masterclass.
And then you can ream him out if he still didn't fold your shirt the right way. What's that?
The Saturday masterclass of home ec, which needs to fucking come back now. Like we need home ec now more than ever.
Yeah, send him a Zoom link. He's upstairs, you're downstairs. That way, there's a little bit more physical distance and keep it maybe more tame and go through. No, I think that's huge though, and that speaks on an issue that a lot of people have, which is control.
Yeah.
So like you need control in your life. You need to dictate how everything happens, and then when you don't have control of how your body's responding to the changes that it's going through because of the decisions you made with having kids or just deciding to continue to get older and the changes that happen, we start losing control. And that's, I think, really hard. I think if a lot of people can learn to let go, like you said, you let go of your old physique, you let go of like, hey, this is how my body's going to be different after having kids. that I think is a lesson a lot of people can learn. If you just let go of all those
let go,
things.
but also take responsibility too.
Correct.
Because you have to say, instead it's the radical responsibility.
Yeah.
You can take it as far as you want, but it's I'm choosing this because this is what I want and this aligns with who I want to be.
Yeah.
And I think when you start to stress about things that are outside of your control, then you're no wonder why you're stressed the fuck out. Right? It's because you're stressing over things that you have zero control over, and it is all adding up. So you can't go from a stressful job to a stressful home life to then adding your own stress because you are now stressing on top of the things. And I think a lot of times you have the ability to say, I'm not going to care as much about things that I don't have control over, to an extent that why are we stressing about things that are not happening? And the outcome where you can just, stay a little bit more present, try to let go. And I get it's harder for some people.
Yeah.
But
let go doesn't mean give up.
No.
Yeah.
That's the hard
I think
part.
a lot of people have a hard time asking for help.
I think the hardest part is associating letting go to being a failure or to giving up or to not doing enough. And you have to understand that enough is a dynamic statement as well. Enough when you were 25 looks different than enough when you were 38 with 3 children and more responsibilities. You can't expect that you're going to be able to do everything you did back then when you had more available time, free time, however you want to call it, versus what you have now. So it doesn't mean that you have to completely lower your standards forever. It just means that for a temporary amount of time, adjust your expectations, adjust your standards, find what your bare minimums are. And then once you start to get a clearer head and a little bit more consistency under your belt where you feel some confidence again, then reassess and see, okay, cool. I have a little bit more time. Now my kids are 4 or 5. Maybe they can take care of more shit around the house and I don't have to sit there and stare at them every 5 minutes. Maybe I can get a 20-minute workout in and start getting chunks of this stuff figured out.
I don't know. Little boys launch themselves off
I love the wording. It's always my favorite. Sit there and stare at them. What are these demons doing here? I just gotta look at them.
Slightly less supervision.
Yeah.
Play.
Right. Some people be like, I gotta watch my kids. Rob's like, you gotta sit and stare at these little things.
I understand. Maybe the terminology wasn't appropriate, but again, I'm equating.
No, it's genuinely just funny.
Because that's all I have. You guys want to talk about my only lived experience is taking care of canines. That's it. That's all I have. I have anecdotal experience.
You can put them in a cage.
Yeah, well, you can do it with humans.
And you can do that exactly. That was done with me, and I came out relatively well adjusted.
I feel like humans are a little bit easier because you can take them with you on vacation. It's easier to find a family member to watch your kid maybe for a weekend than your dog. I don't know. I found it easier to have kids than dogs.
Really?
My kid, they would shit in the diaper, not on the floor. They don't wake up in the middle of the night at a certain point to go to the bathroom or whatever it might be.
You can get diapers for your pets too.
Can you please do that and post a picture for us?
We had her in a diaper.
Do people do that? Do people put diapers on their dogs?
Yeah, there's female dogs.
Not fixed. They have their cycle.
Yep, you
take them in. There's little holes in the tail.
It's so funny. The tail hole is so funny, especially when you have a dog.
Dogs that are on Lasix. Could you imagine a dog on Lasix?
It's hard. So I want to. So let's talk about some technical stuff because I think again, going back to that point of there still is science to this stuff, and I think understanding the science of it makes it a little bit more palatable and simpler, which then allows the action steps to be a little bit more direct. So we can probably say that calorie deficits work no matter what phase of life you're in, no matter how old you are, no matter what you think is happening in your metabolism. but the number at which you arrive at a deficit will change depending on what state you're in that time. I personally think that,
Correct.
especially postpartum, the last thing you need to be doing, at least for 4 to 6 months postpartum, is worrying about a deficit. That's my opinion.
Yes.
I think get your fucking
You need to
strength
fuel
back.
yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially if you're breastfeeding.
So, what
And it will
advice?
come. And that's, that's another thing too that you have to try.
What
What advice would I
what?
give somebody who is like sitting there?
Yeah.
For like disconnect all of your social media, like get off of that and stop scrolling. Buy yourself a Kindle and read a book. When you are up all night with your newborn, read a book. Do not scroll on social media because you will absolutely get served the most misinforming and terrible things for a postpartum woman to see when you're in that state.
So the video of the woman standing in her kitchen raising her knees up is not going to get rid of the baby pouch.
No.
Like I've seen.
No, there's some
Just
bad
this move right here. And they're just lifting their knee up at the kitchen counter. And I'm like, how is anybody believing this?
Right. Or make sure you are following people like pelvic floor physical therapists, postpartum certified, trainers who they are specifically putting out content that is helpful for you. Because I do think that you need to also make sure you are doing some movement, right? That you're doing your pelvic floor exercises, your breathing, right? Let's just start with like connecting our breath and things like that. So there are things that you can do. And if you want to find a program, like when you're still pregnant, find a program that you're going to utilize postpartum that will help you. So you can also feel like you were doing something, but like go outside, take a walk, bring your baby with you, right? Or leave them behind if you need a break.
Yeah,
But
chain them up against the radiator. They'll be fine.
they'll be fine. Well, they don't move at that stage. So, you can just leave them there and then they'll be fine. They'll leave them with a trust.
Cry it out. Let them cry it out.
But I really think it's, understand what you need and what is being helpful and not. And if you focus on, have I eaten today? Right? Have I drank enough water? Really going back to the basics and try to not look at or think that I have to get back to where I was, because the truth is that you're comparing apples to oranges. Like you are not in the same body. And you can work on that at a better time. Like, focus on your mental health and your physical health. And your physique will eventually follow when you're ready, but you're probably not ready for that, even though, you want to. And I think, back on the whole control thing, that's another thing that I think women are like, they finally feel like they have their body back, right, to themselves after growing another human forever. And like your body just did something that you had absolutely no control over, right? And if you've always equated your, like the way that you looked with your entire self-worth, then that's probably going to continue, right? Find a therapist that you can talk to who will help with this, right? Don't think you have to do it on your own. But I think the worst thing that you can do is sit there and scroll on social media and like get caught up in like the bounce back and like, clicking on these links that are, it's just wild stuff. But I think, reading a book and not scrolling on your phone is probably the best thing that I did for myself after my second baby, because after my first, it was, wildly different,
Is there anything that you're seeing? Because it's so easy to complain about everything that we see on social media. Is there anything that you're seeing lately that you're liking?
I think in general, things are shifting to women can be strong, they can be fit, they can train hard. Just because you are a mom or you have a full-time career doesn't mean that you can also do these things. And I think that there is a much easier, like there's easier access to some of this stuff rather than when I was growing up, it was like magazines and Photoshop and like this stuff all existed, right? But I think now there's so much information out there, and as long as you can sift through it, and that message is clear. And I think, people like Alona Mayer, who is the USA rugby athlete, she is an incredible role model, I think, for young girls. Having things like that, I think, is very, very, very helpful. And if we could just get rid of all the the other stuff, it would be great. But I think that's some of the good stuff is, the empowering and helpful narratives, at least with that, and less emphasis on like, what you look like and things like that.
At a certain point, people just need to learn the lesson of the fad stuff and the BS stuff. It's, I think it's just so easy to get sucked in. It's like, oh, maybe this will be the one.
Well, I think
maybe this will be the thing.
Want to, right? That they want something to work and they're so frustrated. But when you kind of take that step back, it's like, okay, what you think you've been doing versus what you're actually doing is probably different, right? I had, a conversation with somebody in real life a couple of weeks ago who also follows me online, and she was like, I just ran a 5K. I'm really having trouble like losing my belly fat. Her kid, I think, she is like 1.5 now. She's like, I'm doing all of the things. I barely eat. I'm like, well, what are you eating? She's like, well, if I have like pancakes for breakfast, I'm good for the rest of the day. I'm like, well, that's your problem right there. Like, you are probably eating, enough calories, but where's your protein? Because there's no protein in pancakes unless like you're specifically making protein pancakes. Even then, it's not enough. And so it comes down to like calories. And I was like, you have to bring awareness to what you're doing. And that right there will probably help shift to where you want to be, just kind of knowing. I think that, what people think that they're doing versus what they're actually doing is not necessarily always along the same lines.
Yeah, agreed.
The recollection part is hard.
Frozen or not?
Can't hear him.
Is he there? Is he saying anything? His
Can you hear
face
me?
keeps freezing. Yeah, we're at that point, I guess, where it starts to freeze for you almost. I don't know if you look like, from my end, it was like frozen, like your mouth was open, like you were going to say something. Yeah, I mean, and Aram talks about that all the time. Like people, you say you're eating 1,200 calories when you're gaining weight or not losing weight. You're not eating 1,200 calories. What you're doing and your awareness. Yeah. But it's so easy to, and he's gone. This is what happens at a certain point because he's doing it on his phone. I think that's why he gets booted out every episode lately because he won't get a new laptop with an updated Chrome, and he does it from his phone, and then he gets booted out. He freezes up. It starts to go right around this point. Yeah, so he's going to have to buy a computer with his 106 clients or whatever he has. He can handle it. He won't listen to this episode. Yeah, no, I completely agree. It's so easy to say that, and it's hard for people to do it. I have a woman who's done challenges for me in the past. She lives in my neighborhood. She's a friend, and this summer it just finally clicked for her. I mean, my messaging a lot is focus on the actions, not the goal, not the result, but living the lifestyle, reframing our belief, reframing our perspective. Life is so much more than our body, blah, 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 all that stuff, which I feel passionate about. And she just started doing it and cut out alcohol. And she's been alcohol free for like over 100 days. And now she like can't stop posting these pictures because she's so proud of herself. And she's going out on walks at 8:00 at night because she's like, I want to be doing walks every day. And I would never have done this before. But she's committing to those actions. And then the result just started flowing.
Right. And it's so, isn't it nice to see though, that it finally like clicks for somebody and you're like, I've been telling you forever, but like, I'm so happy that you finally figured it out yourself.
Yes. Stop doing the challenge to get you to stop drinking and go for walks. Because once the 30 days up, it's fine. Oh, I don't have to do it anymore.
Right.
But I don't know what the resistance is to lifestyle change. I heard a thing today. The area where you have the most resistance in whatever, something that you want to do. I think that this guy was talking more like professional, but really anything. The area where you have the most resistance is the area that you need to pursue first. So like if you have like 4 projects for work, the one that you're like, oh, the most scared of, that's the one that's actually like your soul wants. And the resistance is there. It's that ego of, you can't do it. It's not worth it. You're fine where you're at. You're safe. You know, it's so hard for people. And it's something that I've learned over the last year and a half, of just letting go of narratives, letting go of control, letting go of everything, and just focusing on the action and what kind of life do I want to live and how do I want to feel emotionally, mentally, physically about my decisions. And it's an absolute game changer.
Yeah. And well, people also don't like to feel uncomfortable. It's that discomfort. And a big part of behavior change in general is discomfort tolerance. And can you learn to be uncomfortable? And so these big looming things, which sometimes isn't even like a big thing. It's like calling to make like an appointment that you've been putting off. But like that. I
hate doing that.
Right?
I hate doing that. So funny you say that. I'm like, oh, I hate it.
Right? Same.
I went 10 years without going to the dentist. 10 years.
I don't know how you do that, because at like the
no
6
cavities.
months, like I need my teeth cleaned.
Yeah. It's so fun. Last time I needed to get a referral from my doctor, they were like, yeah, we can't. You haven't been here in like 5 years.
Oh, that's so bad.
And I'm like, all right. And then it took me over a year to go to the doctor, to then get through. And this was for a heart issue. I'm like, oh, wait, I'll be fine. And I'm fine. I was right. So don't judge me, Megan.
That's good. I'm not judging you.
I was fine. I was hospitalized, but I knew I was fine. So now I'm like, my experience with the doctor was good. And I'm like, I'm going to go every year. This person listened to me. It was great. And now I have a better feeling about the doctor. So I'll continue to do that on an annual basis, so I can get my referrals as I'm getting closer and closer to 50. I will go. I did pass up on the colonoscopy. I'm like, give me another year. I haven't been to a doctor in 5 years. Let me just get a couple other things first before I start getting that stuff done.
Diving in. As long as you're eating fiber.
Yeah, I probably am. I get not as much as I should.
Okay.
But I get fiber.
It is preventable. So
I have been enjoying spirulina in my protein shakes, and I have noticed a difference in my dumps.
Well, that's good. Gut health is important.
Yes.
So there's no TMI.
No. Can you show me the last picture that you took of your shit, so we can put that on the group?
I do not do that.
Oh, I thought you said that to your husband or something. I thought it was like a thing you guys did.
Yeah, absolutely not.
No. Am I making that up? Aram is highly disruptive. He has a delay in everything.
Oh, that's frustrating.
I was having to have this delay in recording. It's highly disruptive and annoyingly unproductive to podcasts like this. He's very upset. I think it's coming because it's from his phone.
Yeah.
Did you feel like a ton of delay in conversation?
With him, there were times where I was just lip reading.
Yes.
So fill in the blanks. And we're doing the best we can.
Because he's doing it from the app on his phone, but he's blaming Riverside. I'll make this a clip and post that for this episode of me complaining that he's doing it from his phone. Well, I think it's great that the shift that you've made, and I agree with what you said. Like, I think that people should just be posting what they're experiencing.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people on social media, they found success in a certain genre, and then they stick with that, and they're in that echo chamber, and there's no evolution of them. And it's like, is it just a fear of death? Like, cause you hear that stuff, like everything is based on a fear of death. And it's like, do we need to have that body because there's this fear of death, subconsciously in our psyche? Why are we so afraid to just evolve as humans and go with the different seasons that come with our life? Like you had said, maybe 10 years from now, all of a sudden you're like, you know what? I got more time. I'm going to go for a physique goal. If you feel like going for it, just to see if you can. We get stuck in this place. It's so awful.
Well, it's also comfortable. Even though you don't like it there, it's also still comfortable, right?
Correct. That's absolutely. And then the problem is, again, like our ego wants to keep us comfortable because that's safe. And all that's comfortable is what we're familiar with, no matter how uncomfortable it is because of our body weight or what kind of condition, how bad of shape we're in. It's still comfortable, like you had referred to. And then, okay, I got to go all in. And then they do all this stuff and it's way too extreme. And you just get sucked right back to where you were
And you feel like
before.
a failure. And you
Yeah.
feel like a failure. It's because
It's
in your
too
mind,
much.
you're like, I'm only committed if I'm doing everything. And it's that
Yes.
all or nothing thinking. Rather than you can still be fully committed to your goal, but do it in a realistic way
Yeah.
so that you're only making one change at a time rather than taking something, right? Because they take this like perfect plan and they try to slap it on their existing life without understanding that this plan is not compatible with your life.
Yeah.
And whether you realize it or not, you already have habits. You already have routines. So if this plan does not also incorporate the things that you are doing well that support and align with where you want to be, you can't just take this and slap it on and expect yourself to go 5 days a week to the gym, hit your macros every day, get your steps in every day without then accounting for the days where all of that is just not possible. And it doesn't mean that you're a failure. It didn't mean you like completely fell off track. It just means it was not your day, right? It was just not reasonable. So, I think that's a big one right there.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I didn't realize how much I was all or nothing before. And I went like a year and a half without working out after getting divorced, everything like that. It was a long time. I hired a coach early June. And my first leg workout, I'm like, it was Bulgarian split squats, whatever, rear elevated, whatever they're freaking called, the death of the march. And my first workout, I'm like, I'm just doing body weight. I know what's going to happen. I'm just doing body weight, just a couple sets. Everything was so light because I knew I just needed to get into the habit of showing up in my garage.
Yes. I did this with one of my clients.
Yeah.
I said, I don't care what you do in your gym. Go in there and sit and play with your daughter. I said, just there. I don't
just
care.
Do one set of each. Even if your coach prescribes you 3 sets and it's your first workout, do 1. Do 2 if you felt good with it. And then just come back. And then all of a sudden you'll have no problem. Within a few weeks, you'll be pushing more and more. You'll be doing the full programmed workout. It's so huge. So yeah, it's like people need to be comfortable just starting very, very little.
Well, starting is like the hardest part for so many people. So when you lower that barrier to start, then you can build up that momentum to keep going.
Yeah.
And that's where you start with like building that solid foundation. Because if you just take this and then you do it all and then it crumbles, you're like, I don't even know what was working and what wasn't working because I was just blindly sticking to the plan and telling myself that this is what I wanted and running on discipline and like motivation and all that, buzzwords that aren't really like they matter. Yes. But rather than actually figuring out how to do it.
Yeah. 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 It's like, I think a lot of people think that's not enough. And I've always said, like, if you're not currently doing it, it's not too little. If you're currently
making progress, it's working.
Yeah. If you don't currently ever go for a walk, going for a walk is not too little. That's not enough. That's going to not make any change. You're not even doing that.
About that today.
Were you?
Exact same thing with walking. That like walking is exercise, and is it enough? Maybe, maybe not. But like it's a start.
If you do nothing, then it's better than that. If you're not currently doing it, it's not too little. Doing 1 set of each exercise on legs is not too little if you're not lifting at all.
Especially
doing your body weight squats is not too little if you're doing nothing. Why not? Just get used to spending 30 minutes moving in an intentional way. And then that 30 minutes will, maybe become a longer period of time, or it'll become more intense and you'll evolve with it. I think that's such an important thing for people to learn. And I guess it's just continuing to talk about it, because a lot of times we get on here, it's like, how could we change this? How could we stop this? Or we're like trying to solve human nature, and we can't. I think it's just having the conversations and people being real and honest online, and that's it. And if somebody has too many followers, probably don't follow them.
What? That too. Are they real?
Like, when's the last person who had 1 million followers who like was just riddled with great information consistently?
No,
like
they care more about the followers and the likes.
Yeah, I can't. It's very rare that you get a follower with like 100,000+ followers even at this point, and they're just real and genuine or whatever. It seems like something gets lost in the sauce at a certain point because it's like, I got to keep doing the same thing I've always done. Yeah. So maybe that could be your advice for everybody. You have a cap, however many followers you have. You say you can't follow anybody with more followers than me if I'm going to be your coach.
My measly, like, I don't even have 13,000. My measly.
Hey, more than double, almost triple what I have. I'm like not even 6. I've barely posted. I picked up a little bit this year, but it's like I'm like you. I mean, we're busy. We got other things going on.
It's hard.
What I started doing was grabbing, because I know people don't read captions. I just started pulling old captions and making them my posts, and they're long. It's a longer post with the words, and it's just a caption from an old post. Because I'm like, yeah, that still applies. That's still a great point.
See, and that's the thing is, all of this still works because we preach the same things over and over and over and over again.
It is. I've scrolled back, and I maybe once I'm like, I still agree with that. I probably could have worded it differently, but everything, there's really nothing that I would take back. I'd have to go back and try to find.
Bodybuilding days, I absolutely would take some stuff back.
Yeah, you were a scumbag back then. Everybody knew it. But that's also like that's what
I was in.
That's what you were into.
That's what I was in.
It's like you weren't giving wrong information. It's just that's what you were into at the time.
Yeah, and I mean, so many people who are now not in that space. It's wild to see how they're like, "Whoa, I'm never going back to that either." I'm like, I'm not doing that either.
Yeah, it's been exciting because I got into this later in life, like closer to 40, in terms of like the coaching and the online stuff, and so my perspective hasn't changed. It's been cool to see a lot of the younger people, see them evolve and just start to understand the real life implications for somebody with kids and a career and all that, and for them to go through some of their own issues and realize, oh, it is more than just my body. And so it's cool to see some people go through that, and I'm like, yeah, that's what I've been saying for a while, but I'm older. I'm not 25, and this is my whole life focus, so it's cool to see that.
So it's okay.
Yeah. But, well, thank you, Megan. I know you have,
hungry
a bowl of chili. Fun fact, I joined the chili cook-off one year and we named our team Burr, It's Cold Out.
I love it.
Because it's chilly. I just had to explain that for all the idiots that listen to our podcast. There's no idiots. Anyway, do you have any final parting words for anybody that's listening?
No, just, keep doing what you're doing and hopefully you'll find some joy in it so you can keep it up. Yeah,
I like it. Megan, top 3 smiles of our guests in all these years. Top 3. Good to see you. I can't say top 1. I don't want to offend maybe somebody else who thought they were top 1. We got to say top 3. But thanks for coming on. I appreciate you. And get up there to the chili and those kids.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, and one last thing. Everybody knows it. Bye.